Why is all this happening? There was only 45 Achilles tears from 1990 to 2023. Eight Achilles tears alone in the 2025 season, and we've seen debates all over the place. We saw Cameron come out and say, I know I'm the last nigga to, to say stop being fashionable, but stop wearing these low cut shoes and three-quarter cut shoes, please, and thank you. And none only then easy money sniper, Kevin Durant said, brother, this absolutely has nothing to do with the injury. I'm with KD. I don't think it has anything to do with the shoes. I think it's more the wear and tear. These kids are playing way too many specialized sports at a younger age. Like, I don't even think it's close how much they're playing compared to my era. I played four different sports in high school: football, baseball, basketball, track. I'd probably say the grassroots basketball development, if you're lucky enough to get to the league, will probably put 5 years on your body. And that's just a guesstimate. There's no scientific fact behind it. It's just someone who's been in this shit and seen it, someone who has kids in this space, and just seeing how many games kids play year round. I think it's way too much. And then once you get here, there's miles. You look at Tatum, where they had an amazing championship run, and then although he didn't play a ton in the Olympics, he was in the Olympics. He didn't really get a chance to rest his body. You look at Halliburton, Eastern Conference Finals run last year, Olympics, didn't play a ton of the Olympics, but still no downtime for the body. And let's keep in mind the pace of the NBA game is as high as it's been since the 70s. I think it's almost at 109 possessions per game. There's a lot less defense, so there's a more ripping and running. But to the defense of the game and the growth of the game, I also think that's why the game has grown so much, because people don't want to see a 82, 83 old school defensive battle no more. They want to see dunks. They want to see threes. They want to see people flying up and down the court. And the trade-off for that is the wear and tear on these highly paid athletes' body.
Hey guys, I wanted to do something a little different and try to focus on maybe some hidden gems in athletic performance training as well as physical rehabilitation that we could potentially use to reduce Achilles tendon ruptures. I love what Matt Barnes is doing with All the Smoke podcast. He was a great player. He gives such great insights on this podcast about basketball, and of course, I'm a huge basketball fan. He gets a lot right in this video, and of course, he gets a couple things maybe not quite so right, but we wouldn't expect that. He's not a doctor of physical therapy like myself or a professional strength coach. He's just trying to relay his experience, which is fine. But let's talk about some of this. Like, are shoes going to prevent Achilles tendon ruptures? It's very unlikely. In fact, the research even demonstrates that high tops are not even likely to reduce ankle sprains, right? Is it the volume of games? Is it the volume of each game that is contributing to an increase in injury? Yeah, probably. We have to consider that impairment increases our risk of things like Achilles tendon rupture, for example, a lack of dorsiflexion or pronation. But when you combine the impairment with an increase in volume, that's where we really get into high risk situations for injury. He makes the comment that, like, playing through the summer might not be so good for the body, and then kind of talks about wear and tear on the body. I would actually kind of go back against that and say what we really need is more rest between games, so we have optimal recovery between games, but then we should push through the summer and continue to try to keep getting in better and better and better shape. Now, of course, you can use the off season to optimize rest and recovery and try to make gains rather than what a season tends to do, which is wear people down because they're not getting optimal recovery. But I don't think it's like playing different sports per se or taking summers off that's going to save these athletes from these injuries that happen during the season. Now, let's get into the physical rehabilitation stuff that I think is missing from a lot of programs. And this is based on my clinical experience, research for sure on some of these reasons, but my clinical experience on what's being missed. I think most clinical professionals understand that a lack of dorsiflexion is going to contribute to an increased risk of Achilles tendon ruptures. Although I do not see calf release and calf stretching done nearly enough. I think the next level of professional is somewhat aware that if we don't have optimal posterior glide of the talus on the tibia, that we could end up with Achilles tendon ruptures because we have altered arthrokinematics. I think the next level of professional is aware of inverter strengthening, which is tibialis anterior activation, tibialis posterior activation, and then, of course, reactive activation techniques for those muscles. I see some of it, but not nearly enough. And then here's where I think we get into really, really hidden gems. I don't think you're going to get very far reducing risk if somebody has stiffness in their transverse tarsal joints, especially of the first ray. Now, some of you guys are going, wait, what does the foot have to do with the Achilles tendon? And my hypothesis would be that if you can't optimally absorb force through the forefoot, you're going to put a lot more stress on the calf and Achilles tendon complex, because now all of a sudden it's doing a lot more of the lengthening that now your stiff first ray and transverse tarsal joints can no longer do. If you don't know how to do manipulation and mobilization of all of those transverse tarsal joints, and especially the first ray, I would definitely suggest learning those. And then if you've learned that, let's take it 2 more steps further. You need to learn proximal and distal tibiofibular joint mobilizations. That can very much contribute to stiffness of that posterior glide of the talus. And of course, we already talked about that. That definitely is going to contribute to Achilles tendon issues. And then last, don't forget the toes. Oh my goodness. IP flexion of the big toe, having full extension of all of your toes, right? Like if somebody doesn't have full extension, then every time they go to stride, right? As soon as they hit end of big toe extension, they're going to pronate. The combination of pronation with a lack of dorsiflexion is, I think, where we get into some huge problems in the foot ankle complex that significantly increases our risk of Achilles tendon ruptures. And then when you add that to the increased volume of activity and the less than optimal rest, that's a lot, right? So guys, I hope this video, I know it's a little longer, helped you put some more tools in your tool bag. And Matt Barnes, if you're out there, man, love your stuff, love your podcast. You probably got, 70% of what you said was right on the money, and the rest of it is like clinical stuff. If you see this video, love you, man. Like this was great for you to bring up and bring to the attention of everybody.